crush like a root to your spine. I'm steady on that. Bullets leave a hole in the schools. There's new contact. Gunpowder smoke in the nose. There's no contrast. Ashtray, devil he sees off of the contract. Feeds you through the strength of disease. Whispers your that my bad, my good. You never hear that. My hood, my streets. That's where you'll lie at. Live path, my fate. Now watch me walk that strong step like God's next. I march combat. I seen the suffer what they take and what they leave with. I see the mothers and they hunger for no reason. I see the brothers and they kill each other. Why? Propaganda fuel the hate for the strength of the divine. It's step by step. Doesn't matter where you go. It's step by step. Doesn't matter if you know. It's step by step. Doesn't matter if you grow. It's step by step. It's step by step. It's step by step. Doesn't matter where you go. It's step by step. Doesn't matter if you know. It's step by step. Doesn't matter if you grow. It's step by step. It's step by step. I see the pain, the people, they all disease ridden. Self-hatred and patience, so many hate living. And who am I? Another one pulling lies. I'd rather be one to try than things never to be different. Swap illusions, they crop dust in the food source. No trust, they ruined all of your news source. Poison water, the banks take what they need. Mislead your vision, get angry and take it knees. Make enemies out of letters, whatever keeps us apart. Want all of your time, whether you light or dark. Social media turn you into a fiend. Racism is just a marketing scheme. Mood apparent, they interfere with the parents. They interfere through the lyrics, they putting words in your mouth. It's past the surface, the top layers, a circus, a worthless orgy of violence designed to summon your doubts. It's all trickery, listen to me, I can see the answers. The hero rises, metastasizes like rates of cancer. People changing, they sick of it, a response system. The body alters the trauma cause we're designed with it. Minimizes the window into the soul. Obliterated to take for total control. Not a mistake, you're not worthless, I know. You're not a nothing, you're not a number or foe, dog. Opens up to the truth that you want is suiting you. It's not these suits who move the world, so it's shooting you. Don't align with them, look inside of them. A greater nothing, I can't describe the decides for them. Broken bodies, broken minds. Wasted effort, wasted times. Broken bodies, broken minds. Wasted effort, wasted times. Fix it, step by step, step by step, step by step, step by step. I'll fix it. It's step by step. Doesn't matter where you go. It's step by step. Doesn't matter if you know. It's step by step. Doesn't matter if you grow. It's step by step. It's step by step. It's step by step. Doesn't matter where you go. It's step by step. Doesn't matter if you know. It's step by step. Doesn't matter if you grow. It's step by step. It's step by step.
Hey, do you have a dash 01? Right here. Thanks. Anything else, miss?
Yo, what's good? We in the building. It's your guy Flamingo Fred. This is the Bird of Paradise podcast, broadcasting out of Pink Hollywood Studios in the Retro Room. Hey, we got somebody with us. Go ahead and introduce yourself, homie.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Manny Grey, representing Brockton, Massachusetts. Good to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Hey, no doubt. Much love, man. And thank you for coming by. I enjoyed that video you dropped. Why don't you break down the meaning of that video?
Yeah, so the song is obviously step by step. I feel like, in today's world, we get blasted with information so quickly and so fast that people want to just immediately jump to the end. You got a race to run. You can't get to the finish line immediately. And I think that sometimes you just need a person to remind you of that, man. You'll get there. It's step by step, and plain and simple.
No, most definitely. That's dope. That's dope. So, what's the hip hop scene out like over there? I know y'all got history, and I know y'all got a hip hop scene going on out that way.
Yeah, so I'm in the New England area, and it's really diverse. A lot of stuff is right now. I think it's just starting to develop its own sound. Most regions have their own sound for the past couple of years, but I really think Massachusetts is really in its pocket finally.
Yeah, most definitely. You think it's like I mean, of course, it would be good to have its own sound because a lot of times people think Massachusetts, you guys, are more to the East Coast,
Mhm.
and have more to, maybe a NY influence. I would think.
Yeah, because a lot of people are afraid that we're like bootleg New York. That's what a lot of
Mhm.
people think. Like, oh, these guys are just like dollar store boom bap, but that's not the case. There's a lot of talented people everywhere. Massachusetts included. So I'm a little bit more on the classic East Coast style. That's the kind of drums that sound good with my voice. That's the kind of style, aggressive style I enjoy. But there's a lot of diversity here.
On a side note, and this is something curious because I'm from the West Coast. I'm from the San Francisco Bay
Mm.
Area, and I'm up in Oregon. I'm only a couple hours away from home. Why do you think? Why do you think boom bap gets so much hate? Do you feel like boom bap gets a lot of hate, or is it just me and it's like being on the West Coast? Like I feel like boom bap gets a lot of hate because I a lot of my music as an artist myself is boom bap also, and I
Mm.
feel like it gets hate.
I think probably what it is like it's popular, so inevitably someone's gonna attack it. There's
Yeah.
always somebody's like, "Oh, somebody likes that. Let me try to ruin that experience for you." Like that's pretty much what it is. I don't. Does it get a lot of hate? I don't think it gets more hate than anything else. You know,
Yeah, that's
because
true.
up here, like I remember when I was like first really getting into the scene, the things that people would say about like Southern music and stuff like that was ridiculous. It was the same kind of vitriol. So I don't listen to any of that.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I'm a West Coast kid. Grew up with a lot of Bay Area music, a lot
Mm,
of, way back when LA was really popping, you know what I
mhm,
mean? And stuff like that. But I always been a huge fan of boom bap music. And I think maybe why boom bap can get so much hate is because I feel like when you do boom bap, you got to have substance, maybe
mm,
you know, and you can kind of go outside of the box. And I've made more mainstream stuff, and I made a lot of boom bap stuff. But I feel like personally, when I'm making boom bap, I think I could do whatever I want to do with it. I
mhm.
could talk about, you know what I mean, how I went into space and met an alien chick. You know what I mean? I could talk about whatever I want to with boom bap. Whereas mainstream, I feel like when I hop on those certain tracks, I feel like I can only cover a certain amount of topics.
Yeah, it's really wide ranging. It's got a lot of space for you to be able to play. That's what's dope about having, that 4/4 bar on there. Because I make the majority of my own beats. Like if you see me do like a
Dope.
16, if you see me do a 16 on Instagram, that's usually someone else's beat. But like the step by step and all my major releases, I make all those. And the
Yeah.
majority of them are boom bap because I'm the type of musician who like I'm the type of rapper that I want there to be meaning behind what I say. Yeah, I'm braggadocious at times because that's the culture and it's fun. But I've
Mhm.
noticed that like a lot of the people who gravitate towards me are gravitating towards me because they can feel the weight of my words, and the style allows me to do that
Yeah,
to a
you
higher
you
level.
gotta you gotta like a deep like when I've listened to your music video a few times, usually before, and I appreciate you tapping in earlier in the day. That's something I try to pride myself on is tapping in with the artist. And I had you. I thought you were gonna come on the show a few weeks earlier. You know what I
Mm,
mean? I was promoting before, and I had to look at my calendar, and you were coming on now. So I like
mm,
to tap in with the artist, beforehand. I like to get a feel of who you are, kind of talk to you, and I'm gonna listen to your music a few times before we even get on the air. You know what I
more.
mean? And just to dig deep, and because of course the blog already checked you out some more and stuff like that. But when I hear your music, I hear a lot of emotion. I hear a lot of passion. I hear a lot of like you talking, you meaning business, and you got a message to deliver. You know what I mean? You got that. I like the sound. You know what I mean? It kind
Thank you.
of it reminds me of like a, and I'm not saying you got the same rhyme scheme, but it was like maybe like a Chuck D. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? When Chuck D, like you, like motherfucker, you need to pay attention to what he's saying because it
Public
sounds like
Enemy, yeah.
he's it sounds like he's saying something you need to pay attention to.
Hmm. Man, Chuck D has such an ill voice, didn't he?
Oh
Like,
man, Chuck,
yeah.
I was just going back the other day, and because I every time I do this show, and then we get to talking music, and I talk music with people from all around the world, and I go back like the other day, I just went on a Public Enemy, just and I only can listen to Public Enemy at certain times because it makes me get people know I'm not really an emotional person, but when I listen to Public Enemy, it makes me get emotional and kind of get in my militant
Yeah,
mode. Like, you know what I
yeah,
mean? And wait a minute, I'm ready. You know, this and
yeah.
that. So
Put
I went
put the
on like,
put the spray cans in the bag.
man, I'm
You
ready
know,
to
go find a
go. What
government
what we
building.
need to do? So I can only listen to Public Enemy so much. But
Yeah,
I was just listening to them, man, and it was just that they're one of my favorites. They're so dope. I actually, some of my inspiration was Flavor Flav. You know what I mean? If Flavor Flav doesn't get enough credit, they try to, laugh him off. But Flavor Flav, man, as dope as Chuck D was, Flavor Flav was the right flavor to throw
yeah.
with Chuck D to make it, you know what I mean? That combo.
Right. And it's those kind of artists that, really impacted me. Like I started out the one of the ways I got into hip hop in general was, well, I've always been around music my entire life. I come from a family. My brother was a DJ in the 90s, so like I've been
Mm,
around music period forever. But like one of the things that like really put me on this path is I'm a b-boy. I've been breaking for a long time.
that's
So
dope.
that type of music was just constantly at the jams. Like it's just a part of my DNA at this point to hear, Chuck D go get wicked and then you drop on the beat. Like that kind of aggression is just a it's just a part of my DNA. So like I talk in 4/4. I move in boom bap. Like that's just kind of how I am. That funk and soul, all those things became just a history lesson. And I noticed that, years later, even the so I'm Cape Verdean, which is islands off the coast of Africa. My
I've
parents are
I've
immigrants.
I've heard of that
You heard
recently,
Cape Verdeans? We on the
bro.
West Coast? We made it.
I
We
just
made it.
what was I listening to that I just heard of Cape Verde? I mean, I just learned about this recently.
That's
I
what's
think
up.
I was listening to this there's like this show, it's like this podcast, it's like a this single show where they come on. I just watch them because it's entertaining,
Yeah.
and it's like they were talking about Cape Verde. It was somewhere on the internet. I just recently learned about this.
That's what's up, man. There's very few of us. There's like less than 3 million Cape Verdeans on Earth, so it's a big deal.
Bro,
We're
I just
look,
learned this shit like less than a month ago.
well, you just met one. Manifestation is crazy, ain't it?
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, yeah, like we're a rare breed, but even those sounds, like it's a very like darker culture musically. A lot of it is very emotional stuff because of the hardship of our culture. And so all that stuff went like melded together, even the revolutionary aspects of the music that I listen to. And it comes out now, now that I have those fundamentals and a skill set, the years of practice with my art, it shows.
You know what's this dope, and this is might be an off reference, and this the nerd side of me, but I know in music a lot of times there's a lot of competition, and the corporations have moved into hip hop and stuff like that, and kind of have everybody against each other, and this and that. But music is kind of like X-Men, you know what I mean? You meet
Hmm.
people from different places and they mutants, they got this type of power and this type of flavor, and he over here, and you know what I mean? The Cape Verdeans, and they got this and they bring in these elements, and it's just dope for so many different people to come together and bring these elements to music. And it's one of the things that I love about doing this podcast, because like I said, I'm an artist myself, but
Hmm.
it gives me time to just really sit back and fall back and take notice and like study other people in this music. Like for one,
Yeah.
it's not about me and what I'm doing. I'm paying attention to you, Manny Gray, and how you doing it, and your flavor, and this and that, and it's dope.
Yeah, I agree. Like that's one of the big benefits is besides having an excuse to travel just for work, meeting the people and like learning the perspectives. Like I grew up in Massachusetts, it's cold here, people are mean to you. Like this is just how it is here. And
Yeah,
I went down south once to play a show in Florida. This is the one of the first Florida shows I ever played in my entire life. And
yeah,
I'm on my artist stuff. I'm on stage talking. We gotta listen to each other. Blah blah blah. This is when I was young and super hopeful. And like
yeah.
I'm talking and I'm telling things, and then everybody's like nodding and agreeing. I'm saying things like you need to talk to your neighbor, so on and so forth. I At the end of the show, a girl comes up to me. She says, "We already do that," and I was like, "What?" Because in Massachusetts, it's like stay out my yard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The snow goes on your side of the of the yard and all such. So it was like a real culture shock for me to see the differences in how people interacted. It's really addicting actually. It keeps me moving.
Nah, most definitely down south, and the Midwest is is a different animal than the West Coast. Cause I
Yeah.
mean, like I'm over here on the West Coast, like you don't even know your neighbors, you know what I mean? A lot of times anymore, depending on where you're at and stuff like that. So it's dope to bring that stuff. And when I interview people, I interview artists at all different levels. And when I say all different levels, I mean there's many talented people, but people are at different levels of success,
Mm.
or what you would call success, in this music game. And one of the things that I call myself, I noticed about me doing this thing, like, okay, I meet Manny Gray and we're talking off the wax and I'm interviewing you. But now I've been getting excited as a fan that I noticed within myself, like, damn, I wonder what Manny Gray next project is gonna be like.
Mhm.
And damn, I wonder what the next video would be like. So I think like this has been dope for me because like I just started doing this. Like I haven't just started doing it. I've been doing radio and different things for a while, but it just it's something I just noticed. Like it helps me be a fan of hip hop again. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, there's times where I'm like listening to mainstream music, man. I'm just like, bro, I can't. Like I'm not. You start to lose your love with hip hop and
Yeah.
music. That love starts to fade. But like interviewing artists is like, man, I would happily send me the link to what you got going on, and you got a new project. How much is your project? You know what I mean? Can you send me? Like, it makes me a fan of the music, and it helps me go outside of myself and just being a fan of myself to rock with other people.
Right. Yeah, like there was a point where I walked away from music for a while. I had been doing it a long time. I'd been dancing professionally for a long time and trying to do this and working little jobs in between to get money to tour and all these things, and it was really difficult. And then I went through some personal experiences that weren't great, and I just walked away from music for a while. And for like damn near a year, I didn't listen to any music at all. I drive in
Mm,
silence. I was just like I just didn't want anything to do with anything. But
damn.
it got to the point where like yeah, it was crazy, but it got to the point where like I went through some so, I normally don't bring this up, but at one point back in 2020, I walked by myself from Massachusetts to Florida by foot. So
Mm,
it was a 1,200-mile journey. Yeah, 1,200-mile journey plus that, took me 76 days to complete. And all I thought about during that time, every single day, was music.
mm,
Every day I thought about music. And then when I came back, I started to take martial arts more seriously. I was training, I was fighting in the gym, I was doing all these things. And every day, just thinking about music, thinking about music. And it got to the point where it's like, dude, like, what are you doing? This is what you want to do. You think about it every day. You still make beats, you still rap. What are you doing? Just accept that this is who you are. This is what you want. And a lot of my music is that introspection, like you said earlier, like when you meet somebody new. And for me, it's like, what are the parts that made you? What are the things that made you who you are today? That's what really interests me the most, whether it's good or it's bad. I grew up in a not great environment, so but I was surrounded by a lot of positives too. So I'm stuck in the
mhm.
middle of two extremes, and I want to know all the aspects of how that made me from, and I express uh that interest and that curiosity of how I got here through my music.
Yeah, man, it's dope. I mean, I've just really been, I opened up this new, studio, and I've been grinding. I've been working on a couple of things, and I'm just like happy. And I'm like, man, I come in contact with artists like yourself, and I mean, it's like a music motivation because I was going through a
Mhm.
stretch where I'm like, man, I've been branching out in other genres. Like, I've been making some like because everybody's like, "Oh, you remind me of Thundercat." That's what they say over here. Like, you remind me of
Oh,
Thundercat. I
cool.
don't know if you know who Thundercat is,
Yeah, yeah.
but people are like, "You remind me." And I'm like, man, I make rap music, but I've been branching out into these other genres, which I've been wanting to do for a while. But for a while, I was like, man, I can't even. I don't even know what to like. I don't even want to rap right now. And shout out to my brother Verseborn from my group Team Conquest. He sent me like two albums. You know what I mean? And I'm just dropping verses on these two albums, dropping verses, and it got me back going. And then I linked up with a dude called a cat called Sir David out of Texas who sent me, 10 track, 10 beats, 10 track album. So, getting back into it. So talking to artists like yourself and doing this shit on a weekly basis is giving me motivation because I see people like yourself that are hungry, you know what I mean, that are, take this music serious. Like people don't understand how much work this music takes, you know what I mean?
Mm.
For a while they always think that, if you're not making, $10 million a day, or you're not jumping out of an airplane, your music shouldn't be respected. But I think now we're coming into a day and age where people are starting to respect the underground more, you know what I mean, and different people doing their thing, and and I think it's good. Like I think that's dope. Like we need to hear what people from different parts of the world, like it's that underground shit, and we need to hear what people have to say, and things like that. I mean, that's what hip hop is about.
Right. I mean, like I respect, I'm just a rapper, man. Like I don't really jump into other genres as much. If it's a subgenre of hip hop, I'll play with it, but I don't really go into like the R&B realms or anything. Like that's not for me. So I respect the fact that you can do that. Props to your talent to be able to do those things. But it's like you said, it's like are people hungry? Is like I'm starving. I'm starving. I want this really bad. It's like what I want to do with my life. It's what I'm working every day to do with my life. And uh I wouldn't continue to do this if the reaction wasn't there. Like
Yeah,
I go through my comments and it looks like a forest fire because of all the fire emojis.
yeah,
I go to shows and people talk to me, they look at me. I've gone to shows, I've performed because I the live performance is my bread and butter. I have the stamina, I have the aggression, I have everything.
hmm,
People should come see me live. And the people who do, I've had people come up to me with their mouths open. Like I was not expecting that. I've heard things like I didn't know people. I was in New Jersey and someone came up to me at a show and said, I didn't know people from Massachusetts rap like you, you know?
yeah,
And so those kind of things. And I've even gone into places where you would expect a lot of racism. And I've
yeah,
had many, many people come up to me and say, I don't like hip hop, but I like you. And I think those being an ambassador of my cultures, showing people breaking, what breaking feels like in live, like not just on some commercial selling, sodas, but actually in front of you and feeling that energy, to be an ambassador of hip hop culture, to destroy the narratives that people have about my people and my culture is a power that they feel. You feel it when you see Manny Gray live. And I'm just grateful that people would even receive me that way. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. And I'm going to do it on a bigger and bigger and bigger scale as the years go on, because like I've done impossible things. It's not possible to stop me with this history of behavior that I have. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. And that's dope, man. And the ability like to go to other genres and stuff. A big genre that I've been messing with, and it's just a growth within myself. I've been messing with a lot of funk music. You know what I mean? A lot of funk music and stuff like that, and just vibing out to that and everything else. You know what I mean?
Why funk?
I just go back, man. I think funk is like one of the genres before hip hop came. It's one of the genres that like birthed hip hop, and I just like the psychedelic, I like vibe of funk music.
Mhm. I agree. It's
You
always
know,
good live too.
yeah, most definitely. And
Yeah.
it's just like for a while, to go back in. Sorry, I had somebody in the background. For a while, I think the thing with funk is I stopped listening to a lot of music for a while. Like when I was coming up and first starting with music, like my big bro, shout out Checking Traps, like I didn't want to listen to too many people because I didn't want to start sounding like them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I kind of got away from listening to rap music a lot at all. Like I like MF Doom, but if I start listening to too much Doom, you know what I mean, I'm gonna start being a Doom. So I would start, I like reggae. I listen to a lot of reggae. I've tried making reggae songs before, but it's like, it's not my thing. And then I start listening to like a lot of Parliament Funkadelic, a lot of old school like Egyptian Lover, breakdancing, music and stuff like that. And it's just like, man, I've been really just messing with it and playing with funk beats and the breakdowns and stuff like that. So I got like two projects that's coming out. That's gonna be, one is like funk, and I guess one is kind of like funk, like kind of like indies rock, like it has just an 80s vibe to it. So I'm trying
Mhm.
to do it, but I don't want it to be cheesy. You know what I mean? It gotta be
Yeah.
me, still gotta have some swag, and the whole thing. But I like how it's coming together. But it's a lot more tedious process than rap because I've been doing rap for a while. Like this funk, I'm really like dissecting it. Like I need this to be cool. I can't come out with some shit and people are like, you seen artists try to cross over and do other shit before, and you like, you
Mm,
know, I want it to be official.
mm. Well, I'm hoping that you're able to like really hit those pockets and get the sound that you're looking for, because there's very few things as satisfying as like hitting that perfect pocket in the song and the song comes out exactly like how you want it in your head. And for me, like I said, it's like I know a song is what it is depending on how people are reacting to it when they see me live. I think
Yeah,
that that's the biggest factor. Like if you not saying you, but if a person plays a funk song and nobody's moving in the crowd, I got bad news for you, pal. You know what I mean? That bass line's not hitting. That drum's not hitting. You got to make sure that the people in the crowd are moving, even if it's just one drunk person at a bar. I think makes a
yeah,
huge difference. But for me, the expression that usually comes on at live is just people just watching, and I had to get used to that. It was weird. And then I thought nobody liked me, and then there's just a stream of people that come talk to me after the set. So I figured out my lane through just like years of work, and I whether you stick with this one or you work into other ones, I'm wishing you the best with it, whatever way your artistry takes you.
yeah. Most definitely. It's it's just a thing, and it's a vibe that I'm going to. Like I said, I was like, oh man, I'm not gonna do a lot more rapping, even though I love it. And to be honest with you, I just had to do a count the other day, and I got because I don't know about you, but I record a lot of music, and there's a lot that gets released, but then there's a lot that never sees daylight. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And so I had to really just take inventory the other day when I was like not really like I just finished one rap project with my brother from Verseborn, and then I got three more rap albums I'm working on. Two are almost wrapped up. I got one more to work on, and then I got the funk and the two funk projects. So I'm like, yeah, I went from like, oh, I'm not doing too much rap to knocking out four albums.
Hmm. Yeah, maybe it was just all built up for you.
Yeah, maybe it is, and it's not to hype myself up, but maybe what I'm talking about can inspire somebody else, with their creative process and whatever they got going on. Because I mean, you never know when your shit is gonna hit, or who's listening to your music, and people around the globe, or you quit
Yeah.
right before your big break or whatever else.
Let me ask you this, like, because you're creatives, like we kind of input the world and then output the art, right? So let me ask you this: Is do you feel like there's something wrong in the world? And because a lot of people say they feel like something's wrong, but a lot of people don't know what it is. Do you feel that way?
Oh, I mean, it depends what you're talking about. I feel like there's a lot of things wrong.
Mhm. But
But
like
I feel like,
a general feeling of something is off, not necessarily the partic. We know the particulars, right? But like that general energy of like something is off. Do you feel that way?
yeah, I would say I feel that way because, I feel like we should be vibing. And when I say vibing is something, they say I'm kind of, I'm from the city, but my people, I kind of like an electronic 80s hippie type dude, in a way, urban hippie. But when I say vibe, and when I mean vibe, people should be connecting and raising the vibration. And I know that sounds cheesy, and I know we heard that forever, but like I think people are disconnected. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, and I'm not expecting people to be perfect. Like, there's Sexy Red. There's a time and place for Sexy Red. You know what I mean? It's
I
not going to be
agree. I
everybody's
agree.
vibe, but there's a time and place for
Yeah.
Sexy Red and adult music. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm finally getting a point in my life because like when I was first starting out with music, I was around different people, and it was like other artists were the enemy. You know what I mean?
Mm,
And especially in the black culture, you could look at some of the black culture. It's like we we were, other black people were your enemy at sometimes in the culture. So being in this music, other people were your enemy. But I've come into a mindset now, like nobody's my enemy. Like, yeah, I have a competitive streak in me, but I'm trying to be the best Flamingo Fred
Sorry,
that I
someone just got into an accident outside. The two cars
damn
just smashed into each other.
that
Wham! Sorry
I'm
about
trying to
that.
be the best flamingo Fred I could be. And so a lot of times I come on the show and I've been repeating this weekly about me playing with different genres. And it's just like me growing and into this thing, like this journey, you know what I mean? And like you said, is there something wrong? Yeah, I feel like we're disconnected from each other. And the
Yeah,
reason that I do this podcast, of course, we want to hit a certain level of success, but I do this to connect with people and vibe. You know what I mean? I
yeah,
do this to uplift the artist that might be, unsure about what he's doing or what she's doing, and have some love and some support. You know what I mean? And good vibes. Not saying that I'm perfect. You know what I mean? Not
right.
saying whatever, but I'm trying.
That's good. Like, and I appreciate you answering my question. It's just that, like, because I asked that to a lot of people, and a lot of people feel generally the same from all walks of life. And I try to work. I try to make my work in a way that kind of goes towards connection. Like back in 2020, I did something called the Embers Project, where I asked people to submit their stories of 2020 because everybody's 2020 was hard in some way, right?
Yeah.
So they submitted their stories, and then I put them inside of a wooden heart, and then I burned them on New Year's Eve. So
Mm,
I got over 212 stories, and the stories were incredible. I won't repeat them out of respect for them being destroyed, but some of the ones that they gave me were just like, I'm like, oh my God, like, how did you survive that situation? And then a lot of like little collaborative things I've done like that. And then right now, I'm working on a music video where people are going in and they're saying a quote of 3 words, and they drop their name, they pick 2 colors, and they do a quote with 3 words. And
mhm.
my thing I've been telling people is like, if you could say something to the world and the world couldn't say anything back, what would you say? And so we have over 60 submissions. A lot of people want to be, they want their voice heard. And I think people are just point blank tired of not being heard in a world that has so many avenues for communication, and they're just being ignored, and they feel that way. And
Yeah.
I think that's part of the I think those are the type of people that are resonating with what I'm creating, is people who are like, no, there is something wrong. I want to be heard. I want to be respected. I wanted to be treated like a human being, and I want to treat other people like human beings. So I'm very, very blessed and very fortunate that the people that are like rocking with my music are, generally speaking, are some really good people. The things that they say to me, the thing that vibe you were speaking about, that higher vibe of being like surrounded by good stuff. I'm really fortunate, man, and I'm really grateful those people are taking part of my I Know project.
Most definitely, and those things that you did are very dope. And like I said, um, prior to us going live, you know, s- keep tabs with me, man. Stay connected with me. Let's talk and communicate, man. And maybe we'll work on some music, but definitely, keep me involved in what you got going on and anything I could take part in, even if it's something simple and you need a couple words from me or whatever, because that's what it's about. Have you ever seen, and I'm gonna try to tie this together. Have you ever seen a movie called Fritz the Cat? It's like
No.
a it's like an old school movie. If you ever have time, it's like an adult animation with a cat. And the era that this movie's in, it's like the 60s, borderline 70s,
I've seen
may
pictures of this.
60s, 70s. But and I'm gonna tie it back together. When you really think about what our daily lives should be like, of course, well, and maybe it's me, I have a different vision than the next person, because I'm an artist and I create. Like, I'm supposed to be waking up, eating good food, music or whatever, vibing in the morning. You know what I mean? Congregating with people, this, and that. You might have your lady or your ladies, however you live in your life, and you chilling and you creating and you're vibing. And I say that to say, of course, there was the hippies that were on the West Coast. I'm from the Bay Area, so that was huge. The history with that, with people coming together, eating, playing music, they blowing trees, smoking, they vibing, they doing their thing. But something that's been on my mind recently, and it reminded me of the movie The Fritz the Cat. There was like an era, and if you look at the Diggable Planets, I also like I was trying to find the vibe, but if you look up the Diggable Planets video, cool like that. But there was like this era in like the East Coast. I would say it had to be New York, where they were wearing, it was like circular glasses, and it was like real jazzy, and they was like meeting up in buildings and stuff, and hey daddy, oh it's cool, and like hey
Yeah.
daddy, it's everything's cool baby, and they was just like coming together, and whether they was bumping jazz and doing it, there was like this era, and I don't know, I'm trying to find the era and do some research on it, whether it was like, it had to be like between like the 60s and 70s, and the circular glasses, and they wore dark colors, and they're coming in, and the jazz is playing, and hey daddy, and they exchanging information, and I'm just been looking for that kind of aesthetic, and I don't really know what it's called, but the point was, it's like people coming together, and vibing and exchanging information, and feeding each other and doing this, and we're not blocking you out because we think you're shining. We coming together to add these different elements.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
even
you
if
can
you look,
learn something from anybody, right? Sorry to interrupt you. I didn't mean to.
no, no, most definitely you could learn something from anybody. And if you look at stuff like, the Parliament Funkadelic, like they was like Wu-Tang before Wu-Tang, like how many people they had in that group. They had
Mhm.
like the Brides of Frankenstein, and they had Bootsy Collins, and they had this dude, and they had that, and they just was, everybody had this like different aesthetic and vibe, and they brought that shit together. And I think sometimes if you look back at hip hop, they had like the native tongue, you know what I mean, with Tribe Called Quest, and the Jungle Brothers, and all these different people coming together. And I think that's what missing in the music now. Everything became me, 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 me. I'm a celebrity. I'm rich. I'm doing it bigger than everybody. And I know we
Yeah.
all have ego, and I know we all have a little bit of that, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. So as a person, you said you're a West Coast native, correct?
Yeah, I'm Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area.
Yeah. So as a dude from Massachusetts, New England, we have a very strong work culture. That's like you're gonna touch a HVAC job at some point in time if you live
Hmm.
around here, or you're gonna touch the automotive industry. Like I've worked in the automotive industry a few years, and like those kind of things. This is what's expected of you more than even like even though we have more colleges, most of our colleges are people coming in, right? So
Yeah.
I say all this to ask you, as a West Coast native, from the outside, it looks like you guys have a culture about like enjoying life. Even the music that comes out of the West Coast seems to be a lot more about, not in a corny way, but more about partying, more about enjoying the time that you have and vibing out and chilling and enjoying things. Is that accurate? Do you guys have a culture that's like more about enjoying life, or what is
I,
that?
I,
What's that like
I
from a native?
I think that's very, very accurate. You gotta look at two things. When you look at the West Coast, to me, and we're not talking about Texas, and we're not talking about different places, which they kind of throw into the West Coast sometimes. But let's take LA and the Bay Area for example. You
Okay.
know, California is a weird place when I say this. If you look, let's take LA. Let's start with LA. LA is real gangbanger. They up A cut. They real kind of, more A cut. This the uptight. They really gang bang. Because I got a lot of LA homies. Shout out to them. They real gang bang and this and that, and kind of more like militant and almost political. This and that. But you got to also look at LA. They have the beach culture. They have the surfer culture, they got the celebrities and Hollywood culture that's thrown into that. So there's a mix of that. But I don't think like a lot of LA rappers and stuff show that a lot. A lot of LA rappers are, is not saying every LA rapper is a gangbanger, but it's more influenced by the LA gangbang culture. Now you look at the Bay Area, a lot of times, a lot of people haven't been to the Bay Area, San Francisco, Oakland and stuff like that, and they see all the other stuff going on. The Bay Area is a weird place because I tell you this, there's a lot of gangsters and shit and hood shit in the Bay Area, but our gangsters, I feel like coming up in the Bay Area, are more animated. You know what I
Mm,
mean? They got, if you, I don't know how much you've seen about the hyphy movement or whatever else like that, but it's more like animated. I like, you know, this and that, like a different vibe, because you got to realize there's the Black Panthers that was in the Bay Area. Then
Mhm.
also with the Black Panthers, there was the hippies. You know what I mean? So you got this super militant group in the Bay Area, the Panthers. Then you got the hippies. So if you come to the Bay Area, yeah, they're gangsters, but also Bay Area is like, yeah, I'm chilling. We're the culture there. We're hitting a party. You know what I mean? Like he might have done some hood shit all day long. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? He was doing this, he was doing that, but he's going to hit the party. And then the Bay Area is so diverse with different races of people. You know what I mean? He's hitting the party and he's there. He might see some Mexican chicks. He might see some Asian chicks. He might see Becky and Susie and them from around the way. So, he's coming with a different swag to blend in because it's everybody's together. So if you look at artists like Mac Dre or different people like myself, like there's the urban street element, but it's also the hey, we gonna pull up to the beach and we gonna get off these coronas and you know what I mean, vibe out. And it's like a melting pot. So
Mhm.
it's West Coast, there's beaches, there's this, there's diversity, you know what I mean? You might see a black dude with an Asian chick. You might see, you know what I mean, the Mexican homie with Susie, or you know what I mean? It's just a melting pot. And so that kind of just like is the lifestyle. It's West Coast, the beaches and cruising and lowriders and it's a whole lot of mixture of shit. Whereas I feel like looking at the East Coast is more straightforward and you know what I mean?
Mhm.
This, and that, and work and hustle and get it's just I got some East Coast homies and they just like, you know, straightforward motherfucker, check this out. We're gonna get this money and we're gonna do it
Yeah.
today and we don't care, you know what I mean? That's how
Yeah.
I feel the East Coast is. Whereas the West Coast, especially the Bay Area, they gonna do the same shit, but it's gonna be like, yeah, man, I'm gonna bust a couple moves and slide around the way and make a couple moves with Susie. Like it's just more colorful and animated language.
I mean, yeah, like you gotta understand, it's like over here it's working sports. You see what I'm saying? It's working sports, and like it's a good mentality to have when you need to get down to the nitty gritty of things, especially
Yeah,
like when you're on tour and you got $12 and you got to make it to the next show, but you also got to eat. You're gonna figure it out, and the reason you figure it out is from that the culture that you come from. And
yeah,
my city of Brockton is where I was born and raised and I live is unique because it's the biggest melting pot in the area. We have all types
mm-hmm.
of people that live here: poor people, rich people, people of all colors and creeds and races. And like when you go in outside of Massachusetts, when I was growing up, that simply was just not the case. It's better now, but back then it was just not the thing. So, but that's why I think that like the music is changing here now because Brockton is just definitely a lot of people have gone out and they saw how the world works and how the industries work and how things work, and they're going and they're learning and they're creating their own things. For me, all it did is like I said, both my parents are immigrants. They have a certain expectation. They put a battery in your back and they say you need to just to be real. Is like if you do something, you need to earn money. You need to earn money in
Mm-hmm.
America. You need to survive. You got to be able to do this. You know, and like my parents didn't believe in what I was doing until they saw me perform at Hard Rock Cafe in Boston. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand. And then they saw me and they saw the crowd waving their hands and they felt the energy of the performance. They saw the
Mm-hmm.
music and they never doubted me again because they had never seen it. They had never seen me before at that level. And so
Yeah.
when they saw it, they were like, "Oh, okay," you know. And then of course I was an opening act that night, but like so many people were wearing my merch that night. And so
Yeah.
it's like you do have to prove yourself to the world. And in the East Coast, we prove ourselves. That's like a huge thing. I'm sure on the West Coast that exists, but
Oh
like
yeah.
you don't get respect easy over here. You can get respect if you come correct. Like if you show up and you have a certain energy and you cool and you not being a square and you just like respectful of people's space and conversation, it's good. But there are those people who respect you when you elbow your way in and you say, "Nah, I'm here right now." You put your foot down, you say, "This is my performance. This is my music. This is my show." They'll treat you different. It
Yeah.
sucks, but that's just the reality of how it is in a lot of places. And it formed me, man. It made me a better performer. It made me more open-minded.
Nah, most definitely. I mean, on the West Coast, like we got a lot of, no matter where you go, a lot of people gonna have a lot of the same struggles.
Yeah, word.
A lot of the same struggles. I just think we go about doing shit in different ways. And the West Coast, like, there's a lot of hard workers. I mean, shit, I'm a hard worker. You know what I mean? I just might do it differently than somebody else, but you know, the Bay Area, I feel like, is big on conversation. Of course, there's some people that's not, but the Bay Area, like, I don't know how it is on the East Coast, but like a lot in the Bay Area, you outside, you walking down the street and you running into people, and it's almost like you got to have some conversation and some dope shit to say. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? When you run into something, hey baby, hey, how you been, man? I've been out the way doing it big, man. If I had your hands, I throw mine away, man.
Yeah,
And
it's wild. Like I was in a subway and some dude just started chatting it up with me. I was like, "What's happening here?" The first time I was in San Diego, I was like, "What? What are you doing, man?"
yeah,
It was weird for
that's
me.
big. That's I don't know what it is, but like it's big to have that conversation. It's big to be able to say something smooth to a lady, and conversation and your style and your flavor and your vibe. So I think the Bay Area and extension of the West Coast is really about having your own flavor and having your own vibe, and this and that, and adding it to the pot. Why is it like that? I don't know. You know,
Yeah,
it's
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 interesting
just
how places get here, huh? It's
yeah,
interesting how
it's
culture forms.
yeah, it's just kind of how it's just kind of how it developed, and stuff like that. Of course, you have people that are more militant and different stuff, but like I said, you got to look at the history. There's there was the Panthers, then there was the hippies. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And black culture tied into all that stuff. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. So it happens over time, and then it's the Bay Area too. You got to realize the racial like there was a lot of racial struggles in the Bay Area, but I feel like also we developed faster than other places because of the hippies and the revolutionaries and stuff like that. So it's a lot of shit that I would feel like we was used to doing in the Bay Area, that people weren't doing it, like interracial dating and doing this and hanging out, and not even dating, but hanging out in different crowds of people, and from all backgrounds. So, by the time we're adults, we already been doing that. Where, I've been other places like the Midwest and shit like that, and they're like, oh, a white girl, you know what I mean? And they're just, but like we from the Bay Area, like we've been, we get tripped out when we see somebody that's, Japanese and black, or she's Mexican and you know what I mean? Jamaican, you know what
Korean.
I mean? Different shit
Yeah,
like that. We're not
yeah.
tripping on just regular. So it's a lot different than other places.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. And I can feel it when I go over there that it's like, it's a lot more, it's just different. It's just really different. But coming from, where I'm from, like it's weird cuz like when your parents born in America?
Yeah, both of my parents born in America. Both of my
Yeah.
parents born in the Bay Area, San
Yeah, so
Francisco.
yeah, so like so that makes me a first generation for this country since my parents aren't from here. I'm the first
Yeah.
American in the family, well, of all my siblings and stuff. And you know, you were talking about the race problems that you guys had. The quick history of Cape Verde is like they didn't have their independence until 1970s.
Mm.
Until 70s, they were still under ownership by another country until the 70s. So, my mother coming over here didn't trust authority. She still remembers the marches. Like, I remember she told me a story where she went to go get groceries with her brother. There were some dudes outside her house playing cards or chess or something. They were being too loud. So the Portuguese sprayed them and just killed them. So
Mm.
if my mom had been home that day, I wouldn't be here talking to you, you know? So she went and when she came to this country, she had that distrust of authority, because she's my skin color. My father is darker. So I'm racially ambiguous. I got Cubans coming up to me. I got Mexicans coming up to me, Cape Verdeans, black people, white people, all types. So all that stuff was just, it never made too much sense to me. The racial disparities. I understand why they happen, but like even I would even stress to say like black culture is awesome, but I think black people would rather just be people than black people. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I
To just
mean,
be a person instead of having to be the color that you are?
it
'Cause
depends what situation you find yourself in. If you working and you going through the corporate world, yeah, you kind of just want to blend in and take your place and do your thing. Now when you're out and about in the world and you pushing your campaign on who you are, yeah, being black is fun. You know what I mean? At that point it's fun, but of course you don't want to go through the negative shit that comes with it. You want to go through the positive stuff that comes with it.
Right.
Just like if you're Japanese, you want to go through the positives of being Japanese. You don't want to go through the negatives. There's fun things about being whoever you are, and and everything like that. So you gotta love who you are, and I love who I am. Like I'm up in Oregon now. In Oregon, I noticed I'm dark skinned. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? In Oregon, they say I'm dark. When I was coming up in the Bay Area, they were coming up to me and saying, "What are you mixed with?" You know what I
Mm,
mean? What are
mm.
you mixed with? When I was in the Bay Area, and my mother, she's very light skinned. She looked like she could pass for Italian or Puerto Rican. She has dark hair with dark curly hair with green eyes, and my father, is very dark skinned. Um, and they were both born in San Francisco, California, but like your journey might have been different than mine. My grandparents, I don't know much about, well, I know a little bit. My grandmother, my mother's mother, she's a white woman. Some people don't know that, but she was born in San Francisco, and I think they had a long history of being in San Francisco, and I think originally they had came from Poland or some shit. Like I'm Polish or some shit like that. I don't even know. I got to go get an ancestry, but I know more about my father's side because I grew up more with my father and my grandparents. They came from Arkansas, and they was down there sharecropping. My grandmother and my
Mm.
grandfather, they was down in Arkansas picking cotton before they moved to the Bay Area for better opportunities. So that there's a part of that history, too. You know what I mean? With that, so it's that's what makes us into who we are.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if any of that comes out in the music. You think?
Um, yeah, it definitely comes out in the music. To be honest with you, like it just watching the cycles is like my grandparents, they came from the South. When I'm looking back on them, like I said, they're picking cotton. They came to the Bay Area, started businesses. Like my grandfather and them, they was like strictly business. You know what I mean? They was strictly business. Then by the time you got to my father, he was big into cars. My father, he has lowriders, old schools, bunch of 1947, mob cars and all the shit. He was into that. And then by the time you come to my brothers, you know, I'm very creative. I'm the most out there of everybody, my brothers. Then you have my older brother checking traps. He's into music and he's more, kind of straightforward, but he's still, flavor and moving. And then you got my little brother, and he's kind of just like business. He don't do music. He don't do anything. He's like strictly business. That works.
Yeah, yeah. Like family's a big factor in how we become who we are. Obviously, right? That nature versus nurture thing. So I find myself very fortunate. I come from a family of like really powerful people in terms of like spirit, mind, heart, and I feel like it translates well. So I'm really grateful for that.
No, that's dope, and it's part of your story, and and who you are, and you know, sometimes we don't realize what builds us into who we are. Now that I'm really dissecting life, like, I've been kind of away from my family and everything, being up here, and I've just kind of had a lot of time, and just kind of vibing out and being a hippie. Like, and take a lot of time to self reflect, like, why am I the way that I am? Why am I eccentric? Why am I, all this different shit? Like, there's some people that just think, you know, you do shit for attention, or you're just doing this, or you're doing it, and it's like, nah,
What's
I
your
never.
answer? Why are you the way you are?
I really dissected it. Like, I feel like I'm the way I am is because I always wanted to be an individual. You know what I mean? I always wanted to be an individual and be me and not just fall within the group. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And flip side to that, I've always tried. I really try to put smiles on people's faces. If you know me, I like to play, I like to be animated, I like to have fun. Yeah, I get serious, but I like to put smiles on people's faces because I feel like I like to see people, be joyous and bring that element, and stuff like that, and bring that type of energy to the situation, and be a communicator and stuff like that. So I feel like that's the way I am, and I have a vivid, imagination and different shit like that. So it helps me, it just be who I am. But to somebody that doesn't understand that, I've heard people say, "Oh, you dress differently because you're trying to get people, to like or whatever the fuck else people say."
Right,
And
right.
it's like, nah, man. If I wanted to, I could just dress like everybody else, and be
Do
like
you
everybody else.
do you care about your legacy? Do you care about being remembered?
Oh, most definitely, most definitely, and part of it is what we do it for. Part of me, I care hugely about my legacy, and it's something I just thought about, in the last couple years. Like, I'm here to leave a legacy, and hopefully, I could reach the levels I want to and have enough dollars to build the stuff I want to build. And basically, what I'm trying to do is get people to catch the vibe and feel how I feel and vibe out and inspire, and that's what this is what I do this shit for. I make music to say something witty and to make you smile and make you. That's what I do this shit for. It wasn't just to like be just be popular because I felt like in a sense I've always been kind of popular, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And not because
Oh,
I
you're the
was
cool
just
kid. You're the cool kid.
Nah, I'm like the popular loner, and like I always kind of like stuck. I had a crowd, but I kind of just drifted, man. Like I popped in and out. It was too hard to be the prom king, but I'm definitely you could have had, prom without me, you know what I mean? So I just always kind of like I bounce from crowd to crowd. Like I might be over here with the goth kids, you know what I mean? Vibing with them, and I'm back over here with the jocks because I play ball too. But then I'm
Smoke
back
with the
over here with
skaters.
the skaters, and then I'm back over here with the gangbangers. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like I just had the ability to just be everywhere.
Yeah, I asked that legacy question because, like, overall, I actually don't care if I'm remembered by history. I just want to make sure that I do the best that I can while I'm here with what I have. There are goals that I have from my life, but I'm really unconcerned if nobody remembers me afterwards. But while I'm here, I know that the people that I am affecting, they will remember me until they're gone, and that's fine with me, man. I just want to do my best, you know, put out as good the best music that I possibly can and have a positive impact on a world that seems like it's trying to eat itself alive. I just want to be a force of truth wherever I can go.
And that's dope, man. That's a dope way to attack it. And sometimes I wonder, am I selfish for wanting success? Am I selfish for wanting to have a legacy? Am I
Mm,
selfish for having attention on me and being me and the star of my own TV show? You know what I
mm,
mean? Which is my life. Am I selfish for that? Because as people, as artists, I've ran into situations myself, and I don't know if you have, where you know it's intimidating to people. Sometimes I feel like to to be this energy, you know what I mean? To be this, and people think you just maybe egotistical and you all about. And part of it, I'm in Oregon now, and it kind of made me reflect because when I was in the Bay Area, man, it's like the culture was different. It was like, man, you can't play basketball. And it was like, everything was like a challenge and a competition. I mean, growing up, you can't play ball. What? I can't play ball. I'll beat all you motherfuckers one on one. You know what I mean? Or you ain't got no women. I don't got no women. You know what I mean? Yesterday I was
scroll through the contacts. Like,
yesterday I was talking to your cousin. You know what I mean? And it was just like this, you had to have some slick shit to say. You had to have a comeback, and you had to like self-promote yourself, and this. And I noticed coming to a different place, like that type of energy kind of can intimidate people and make people insecure. Because
mm,
in the
mm.
Bay Area, you show up, hey baby, it's Manny Grey, and tonight Manny Grey's in the building, baby. We doing it. You know what I mean? That's what it's like. But here, it's not that to people. They think it's just there's something wrong with you. You too eager. You know what I mean? But
Mm. Yeah,
it,
so it's
it
been a
makes me
learning
feel
experience for
guilty in a
you.
sense. It makes me feel guilty in a sense.
Mm.
Finally, as I'm climbing to new heights in my life and in my career, you run into people that I don't know. You run into problems sometimes with trying to elevate.
I think the guilt only needs to exist if you do something wrong. You know, if you're doing something wrong, feel guilty, but you're not doing
Right.
nothing wrong, right?
But sometimes you have to wonder, sometimes what is wrong.
Yeah. I
Sometimes
think
what's
you
right
know.
to
I think
sometimes
like
what's right to you is wrong to somebody else.
that's true. That's where I kind of draw the line. Like one of the rules that I live by is if I'm not hurting anybody, I do whatever I want. You know, and I think about physically or emotionally. If I'm not hurting anybody, I do whatever I want. I don't care what it is. You know, but that's the question. I think even you asking that question, what is wrong, shows that you have some type of empathy that will protect yourself and the people around you. So I think like even that guilt, I'm not saying it's misplaced, but I think it's okay to feel guilty because it just means you're a good person. Bad people don't feel guilty for thinking those ways. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I, like I said, I've done like a lot of reflection, on myself and trying to dive deep and trying to hit these new levels. But also, I do care about what people think. I do want to make people feel good and you know, do things like that. And part of my own personal journey, it's been a cultural shift from being, in the Bay Area to being somewhere else because, I had to kind of relearn how to deal with people in a sense, um, because you just I don't know. It's like the Bay Area is like I said once again. It's like you know what I mean. Hey, we in the building, and we gonna do it bigger than we ever done it because your guy is here.
Hmm.
Whereas there's some people that why does he think everything's so great because he's here? Why does he think who does he think he is? You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean? You run into shit like that, and it's like no, I don't. I mean, it's just I think it's just a cultural difference.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Big difference.
So stuff like that. Any last shout outs we want to give out? Because man, your boy could talk to you all day, and I know we've been going. Any last shout outs you want to give?
Uh, just shout out to the people that are supporting me. Shout out to the people who keep telling me that I should keep going and share my stuff and watch my things. And, my brother for building all the stuff I asked him to build. My boy Chris for always having my back. Dom, all these people that I love and anyone I didn't name. Shout out to Flamingo Fred and Birds of Paradise and Folded Waffle for allowing me to come on this platform and express myself. I appreciate you guys.
Most definitely, man. We appreciate you. Make sure you tap in with me and let me know what you got going on. And we gonna get you back on here again soon, man.
Appreciate you, man.
All right, man. Much love to you. Stay up, homie.